Hey everyone, I had a few comments saying that they really liked my narration voice on my last video. That's actually a different kind of narration voice I have, which I really enjoy doing, where I use my full vocal range and really bring the stories to life, so I've done it in this video. Let me know what you think of it, and make sure you check out the Insomniak podcast that's live on iTunes in the description. I'm going to be bringing it to Spotify and other platforms again soon. I hope you're all having a great day. I love you all and know you're appreciated. Take care and enjoy these stories. This happened just over 2 years ago, at the end of my first year of university. I'm female and at the time was 21. My university's in a very large city, and I was living in university accommodation, a short walk from the main campus. My flatmates had all finished their exams and gone home for the summer, so I was alone in my flat. I was pretty stressed because I was in the middle of my first round of university exams and decided that it wouldn't be prudent to waste my precious study time cooking, so I ordered pizza. It was about 8:30 in the evening when my pizza arrived, so it was on the verge of getting dark. My block of flats had a keycard entry system, so the pizza delivery guy couldn't come right into my door. I saw his car pull up outside, and I go down to get my pizza. The delivery guy stepped out of his car as I walk over. Now he's tall, stocky, and looked to be in his late 20s or early 30s, and hands me the pizza. I say thanks, making my way out. However, he had other ideas, saying, "You're very pretty." I don't know how to respond, so I said thanks again. Then he said, "Are you home alone?" This set off my creep alarm straight away. I say no, I'm not. However, my order was clearly meant for one person, and I was in a largely deserted block of flats at the very end of the school year, so he very easily deduced that I was actually lying. I was thoroughly creeped out by this point, so I turned around to walk back to the door. As I walk away, he wolf whistled after me saying, "Wow, you look good." As I walk up the steps, he continued to whistle and whoop and generally be inappropriate. Needless to say, I close the door and lock them as quick as I can, then moving on to my bedroom. Had this happened to me more recently, I would have called the pizza place right away to report the incident. At the time though, I wasn't in the best mindset, so I ate my pizza and focused on my exams. The next few days passed without incident, and I finished my exams and went back to my parents' house for the summer. When I arrived home, I decided that I ought to call the pizza place to report this. I did, and a young woman answered the phone, sounding horrified when I explained the situation. Apparently this guy was a total creep and had done so before and actually got kicked out for it. To set the scene, I live on the outskirts of a town at the end of a terraced house, and there are lots of houses in my area, in front and beyond. I was home alone. My boyfriend was over his friends. At this time, we didn't really lock the front door. If one of us was in the house, now I do. Nothing really happened when we lived there. We had 3 decent sized dogs that were pretty savage when they had to be, and we were a bit naive. And to be fair, I had recently moved in here with my boyfriend, and before I lived in a small village. So I was sat there in my pajamas, watching TV with all the dogs next to me when the door knocks. It was about 10 PM, and I'm in my pajamas, so I'm a bit annoyed. I got the dogs off me and walk out to the living room and pull the living room door closed, keeping the dogs in. Bear in mind, this all took place within 10 seconds, and as I approached the door, it swings open and this man that I've never seen before storms in, getting right in my face. I'm literally frozen in shock. The man says, "Who do you think you are?" And I'm in silence. "You think you can run around here and do what you want, causing trouble? You don't care. You think I'm a muppet. I saw you and your little friends running back into this house." I say, "I'm literally stood here in my pajamas. I haven't been outside." "Yeah, okay, you think I was born yesterday?" And he literally begins screaming. He stares at me for what feels like forever, probably a couple of seconds, then quickly sprinting out, slamming the door shut. I was stood there shaking for seconds before I start to get mad when I realise what's happened. I lock the door and ring up my boyfriend straight away, who gets home in about a minute flat. But the group was nowhere to be seen. We didn't call the police. I didn't want to cause any more commotion. Now, it's been 7 years since that happened, and I've not bumped into this person since, or the others with him outside. I again thank God I haven't, and always keep the door locked now. This took place when I was 12. I live in a suburban neighbourhood. Our house is beside railway tracks, so because of this, teenagers will walk along the tracks at night and climb over the railings into backyards. Most of the time they're only playing around or exploring, so there's no trouble with them. But sometimes there's more malicious people coming off the tracks. I was home alone when this took place. It's about 1:20, and it was very dark outside. I was watching TV in my room. I heard my house phone ring, but I let it go to voicemail because I wasn't bothered to answer it. 2 minutes later, the phone rang again. This time, I went to go answer it, just in case it was urgent, as it was 1 AM. When I picked up the phone and said hello, I had no answer. I say hello again, so I hung up. I think, it's probably just a stupid scam call. When I was back settled in my room and watching TV, I heard a rattling sound from outside. I hear it again, so I look out my window thinking it was probably just teenagers trying to jump over the fence. Except, there wasn't a group of teenagers. It was just a guy trying to get over the fence, torch in mouth. I knew this was shady, but I don't know what to do. I didn't call the police, I just watch him. The man finally gets over the fence. I couldn't see his face, but he was pointing his flashlight at various things in my yard. Everything valuable, such as bikes. They were keeping away in a locked shed, so I knew he would just get bored and walk away. But he didn't. He hung around in the garden for a couple of minutes and then went towards the kitchen door. From my bedroom, I could hear the handle of the back door being messed with. My heart sunk as I remembered that I left my phone in the kitchen, and that's the only way I can call the police. I then heard him bang his fist on the door loudly, but it stops just as suddenly as it starts. I look out my window and hear him scream, and watch him jump back over the fence, turning off the flashlight, disappearing into the abyss of darkness. I'm not quite sure what happened that day, but from that point on, I brought my phone with me everywhere I went. So my husband is in the military. We have generally lived on bases every station we've been to because the surrounding towns can be very crime ridden and sketchy, with my husband mostly on overtime security. I work from home due to us moving so often, so one afternoon I was taking a break, had made a bite and was snuggling up on the couch with my dog. That's when I heard the sliding glass door open. It was so non-clenched that I think it's my husband. I saw my cat run from the kitchen, and a shadow standing near not entering. I thought that maybe he's come back, so I call out for him and say, "What are you doing home? You forget something." And there's no answer. This is when I get this eerie feeling. After I ask what he's doing here, I saw the shadow move and heard the click of the sliding door lock. From there, he walked to the laundry room and shut the door. I've still got no response. Sitting on my couch, scared out of my mind, I call out to my husband, hoping he's near his phone. I don't hear a ring, but he answers. I ask him why he came home, and all he says is, "Grab your dog, get in the car now." After getting off the phone, I grab the dog and sprint to it. From there I call the MP. Waiting for them was probably the longest 20 minutes of my life. When they got there, they clear the house and find no one. They asked me to take a statement, and even though they're baffled, they do their best to help. The thing is, we're still on that base. I'm petrified that he's gonna return. This happened in the early thousands, and I was around 12 years old. My dad had passed away about 2 years before leaving my mum, sister and myself. To help me cope with my father's passing, my mum took me to the animal shelter to pick out a dog, since a large dog was something I always wanted. In one of the cages was a small shepherd/husky huddled in the corner that I fell in love with. When the incident happened, he was about 190 pounds and my best friend. Now when the incident occurred, my mum worked on nights and my older sister was taking advantage that my mum wasn't home and would constantly leave me alone. I didn't mind though, because then she couldn't boss me around, since when she was home she would try to be mum, telling me what to do and when to go to bed. We lived in a small middle class suburban area with a low crime rate. It was so low that I wasn't scared to be home alone. I was sitting in the living room playing video games and got up, heading to the kitchen to grab a drink. In the kitchen, I had a clear view through the back door and could see the garage open. Thinking that I just left it open after putting my bike away, I head out to the door to close it. My dog is sleeping in the basement since he liked to lay on the cool floor during the summers. I step out to the door and make it about 5 feet from it when I notice a darkness crouching shadow moving in the garage. I froze, trying to get my eyes to adjust to the darkness. It finally hit me when I saw the figure stand up and turn towards me. I was terrified and felt like I had been glued to the spot. I knew that this person could see me since the back porch light's on. At that moment, the figure starts running towards me. I was too scared to move and let out a yelp, then a scream. But that was all it took for my dog to hear, and the next thing I knew, he was behind me snarling and growling. I could make out it was a man, but no features when he now froze seeing this 90-pound beast behind me. He turned and ran, straight towards the back fence. My dog is in close pursuit. The guy made it to the fence, and since it was only 4 feet, he hopped over before the dog got him. After he got away, my dog came running back to me, and we went inside where I barricaded the doors. I don't know why I didn't call the cops and never told my mum or sister what happened. One thing that bothered me was that he had to have known I was inside since the lights are on and the blinds are open. So that's why the risk to hit a house when somebody was clearly home. The next morning after my mum was home, I went outside to finally close the garage and noticed that he had been going through my dad's toolbox. I locked up the garage and never told anyone about what happened. I then walked my dog to McDonald's and got him a burger and ice cream cone for being my hero. Okay, so this just happened last night, and it's just kept me awake all night and I can't stop thinking about it, so please let me share it. Let me just explain the setup, what's going on. So we have only been living here for a little over 3 months, and my window is the only window out of the entire house that has a view of the backyard, and it's also right next to our very squeaky back door, meaning I always hear when someone comes in and out. Okay, so now to my story. So my family went out to run errands last night, leaving me home alone trying to catch up on my classes, because you know how college life is. Well, it was all going well for the first hour, until I hear the back gate open and shut. At first I think, oh, they must be back, thinking my family's there, but then I thought again that it probably isn't them. I remember we have a front door, and there's no reason for them to come through the back, so I sit still as long as I possibly can and listen. I start to hear the sound of crunching leaves as though someone's stepping on them, but I can also hear that they're now trying to move slowly. At this point, they're right under my window. I know this because we have a couch located right underneath it, and I hear someone actually sit on it and let out a quick grunt, which also let me know that it's a man who's doing this. I'm feeling extremely paranoid now. At this point, I'm completely freaking out, not even being able to move at all because there's literally someone sitting under my window, and I sit there motionless for like 2 minutes until I start to hear it. Tap, tap, tap. He's tapping on the window. They start out like little taps. With each set of taps, he adds more weight. I feel my eyes growing wider and wider, and immediately I feel like I'm gonna pass out, and still I can't move. It's like I'm paralyzed with fear. It still keeps on going, tap tap tap, until finally I manage to snap out of it. Quickly grabbing some shorts and a tank top, I grab my keys and run out of the front door into a 30-degree weather night, which in my defense was definitely not the smartest thing to do, as who knows if he was alone or if he had more people waiting out the front to catch me. I don't know, I didn't care though. I hop into my car and drove off, parked at Walmart nearby and sit there in shock, not even believing what's happened. I then finally reach for my phone and see my hands are shaking really bad, but I managed to call my parents. As soon as I hear my dad's voice, I burst out crying. I wasn't even able to tell him what had happened. I just could not calm down. Even 5 minutes later, I was still crying, but eventually managed to tell them what happened when they arrived. I was terrified to go back, and even waited in the car until my dad came back from the yard after inspecting it and said whoever was there is gone. We also debated about calling the police, but I honestly didn't think anything could have been done out of it since I didn't even have a face to give a report to. I'm still terrified that they're gonna come back, and I don't feel safe whenever I'm left in the house all alone. I've been trying to distract myself all day, but now I'm just too shaken up to even enjoy my day. I just hope I can forget about the whole incident. It's the summer of '95. I was 11, sleeping home around 10 to 11 a.m. while my parents were at work. I get woken up by the doorbell, so I instinctively hurry up and down the corridor. But before I rush to open the door as I normally would, I remembered that many times my mum scolded me for opening the door without asking who is it first, or looking through the spy hole to make sure it's safe to open. Especially after some previous creepy experiences have already taken place by now. I say who is it, but all I hear is some unintelligible mumble. So I brought a chair, stepped on it to look through the hole. We live in an apartment building, and on the right of our door was the elevator, and then the staircase. Since the staircase windows were on the far left corner, there was not enough natural light to help me see who it is. I just saw a male with some colourful t-shirts standing outside. I repeat the question, and then strain to hear the answer. He said he was looking for my mother's maiden surname, and I said she's at work. To give you some context, both of my parents are doctors. I don't know if that sounds weird for people in the US or the rest of the Western world, but in Eastern Europe, in the 19s, it wasn't uncommon for grateful patients to sometimes stop by wanting to give thanks by bringing fresh fruit or vegetables, etc. So the man said he was bringing something for my mum, except in the murky light, I could see his hands were empty. I asked where it is, and he said, "The package? That's at the stairs." At this point, I'm starting to get this uneasy feeling that something's not right. So I decide to be cautious and lie to him, saying that I don't have keys. I said my parents are at work and they've told me not to open the door to strangers. So when they come back, they'll help him. He started to get agitated and said he can't wait that long, and then says that he is actually bringing meat, so it's gonna get spoiled. I start to hesitate because I'm thinking, what if he's telling the truth? Do I get in trouble? But then I look through the spy hole again and see his hair. This means that his ears pressed against the door listening in. That spooks me, and I say, "I'm sorry, I can't help you, please go away and come back later when I'm not alone." He once again says that he does not have time to go back and forth, so offers to leave and says he'll leave with the package at the stairs. So when he's gone, I'm not afraid to open the door and get it. Now this terrifies me, but I remain quiet and intently observe him as he goes down the stairs and makes noises of climbing down. And then I freeze, because in the silence that ensued, I was just about to really open the door and check when I saw part of the frickin' t-shirt sleeve above the corner of the stairs. He's hiding there, probably thinking that I know he's gone. What was he gonna do? Pounce on me, break in, or worse? I get so scared that I just froze, and I kept on watching, standing on the chair behind the door. And finally, after what felt like hours, I hear him actually descending the stairs. I didn't open the door. I called my mum's hospital, but I can't get through. Great. They both got worried but proud at the same time I did the right thing. A few hours later, I and all the kids from the building are at the little square playground area in front of it. It was buzzing with kids running around, with grandpas etc, so it's safe. My best friend Nina and I are sitting on one of the benches when suddenly a strange man approaches us and stands next to the bench, saying, "Are you?" and my name. And I hesitantly confirm it, although my heart starts to beat faster as I recognize the voice. It's the same man from the morning. This time, I'm not alone. So I instinctively press myself closer to Nino when he says, well, I'm bringing something for in my father's name, but it's in the car, and I parked around the street. Could you come and help me? Encouraged by my friend's presence and all the people around, I say to him that my dad is actually home, so if he waits there, I'll go and get him, and he can bring him whatever he wants from the car, as I'm little and can't carry heavy stuff. The moment I said that, the guy got quiet and quickly starts walking away, borderline running. My friend, who already knew about what was happening in the morning, and I ran to my apartment. I told my dad. He gets up to go and chase the guy, but of course, there's no trace of him. My dad starts asking away if anyone's had any sign of this, but unfortunately no one seems to. Well, except for one grandma, an old lady living alone on the first floor, who says that a guy approached her earlier while she's sitting on the balcony, asking about our family, then tried to ask for money to pay for the meat he was bringing. As he told her that my parents had purchased it for him, she told him that he has no money, but stupidly gave away all the information. Now, we never heard anything about the guy again, thank God, but those questions are puzzling me. What did he want? How did he get my mum's name, but then said he was bringing something for my dad? Was he only focused on abducting me? I'm just glad I never had to find out. Okay, I haven't really thought about this in a long time. I think I tried to downplay what could have happened because it's easier than accepting the scary reality. So with that out of the way, here's my experience. I was about 13, so it was a good 5 years ago or so. I was at my friend's house, where I don't think I was supposed to be, and we're hanging out. My friend is 2 years younger than me, but we grew up together. So for the most part, everything's normal, until there's a knock on the next door. Now, we're pretty sure that it can't be anyone normal. Now, we're at her home alone, and we're definitely not expecting anyone. Now, I'm a pretty fearless person for the most part, who has no regard for her own safety, but a strong regard for the safety of others. I walked to the door and peered through the curtains. Past the door, there's a man in his late 30s who was standing with a clipboard. His car wasn't in the driveway, but on the street by the house, I think. No, scratch that. I know he saw me because he began to speak. I'm here to fix your cable. My friend on the stairs has had people come down to do things before, but her parents always told her that it's gonna happen in advance. Her face looks confused and utterly terrified. She's not the bravest, but I did have a bad gut feeling. So by now I think, okay, don't open the door and he's gonna leave. A rational idea, right? Well, at this point, the man kept knocking. The knocking turns to banging. He must have been kicking the door too, because the sound was so loud and violent that I thought the frickin' door was gonna break. She lived on such a busy street, so I'm incredibly unsure how none of her neighbours knew that she is home alone at that time or heard the commotion. Of course, we panic, but I knew I had to take control of the situation. My friend's in no state to move, let alone take the lead. I was 13 though, so I was horrified out of my mind. Eventually, I snuck around to the kitchen grabbing a knife. I checked the back door, and went to my friend who was sat on the stairs. The stairs are between each door, but have walls that go down each side so out of sight. When I got back to the stairs, the knocking stopped. My heartbeat seemed to have stopped too, because it sounded like the world became empty. The front doorknob began to turn as he tries to open the door, which is followed by more silence. After maybe 15 seconds, I heard something that I was definitely not happy to hear. "I know you're in there." Now you see. Now if I was an adult, there's no way the man would have said something like that, right? His tone was that of a crazy man, and it left me feeling as though every bone in my body suddenly turned to jelly. Either way, we sat very still. A couple of minutes passed and we thought we were in the clear. That's when I heard the gentle pulling, followed by loud banging on the backyard glass doors. At this point, I grab my friend and bring her upstairs. I grab the phone and we go to her mum's room, getting into the closet. I call the police, feeling physically ill, and talk to the lady on the line. She questions us, and my friend has started crying. I answer her questions and she tells me that someone's coming. We have to wait on the line. I felt like puking but kept incredibly calm to ensure that my friend doesn't fall into a panic attack. She's known to get worked up easily, and I couldn't keep her calm. Eventually the banging stops, and I begin to breathe again. "And you still hear him?" I say no. She tells me that I should check to see if he's still there, but says be quiet and careful. I slowly climb down the stairs and peek at the back door. No one's out there. I walk to the front and step into the room with a window and basically crawl to it. When I peek my head over, I see the man sitting on the stairs outside on his phone. I mean, this just sends me into a frenzy, so I respond in panic that he is. She tells me to go back and hide. The police are close. Eventually, after a long time, there's banging on the door again. This time it ends quickly. A nice lady officer calls to us from outside saying we can come out. We go downstairs and see a male officer talking to him while the woman confronts us. Apparently, the man works for a cable company and was informed to go back if no one was home and let himself in. I think anyone can see the flaw in his alibi, but he had a clipboard that had God knows what on it. The police check and let him out. The woman told us she believes us and not him, that he's actually weird and got away by the grace of God. I hate to think about what could have happened if the man got let in. I'm unsure if this even comes off as horrifying as it felt, but maybe the visual image of the man smiling at the back door that's burned into my memory is why it's frightening to think about still. Either way, I'm just so glad that we managed to get out of there safely. In 2014, when I was home alone, my then boyfriend, now husband, was at work, as I happened to have a very rare day off work. I was watching the Golden Girls as I snuggled around our two cats relaxed. I remembered feeling a strange dreadful feeling. I sat up from the couch and noticed that there's a man with shaggy and greasy long hair. What in the hell? He seemed to make eye contact even though he was roughly 2 blocks away, then suddenly broke into a sprint. I felt this moment in every inch of my body. I rushed into the front porch and locked the screen door before rushing back into the house and locking the main door leading into the house. He was suddenly at the side of our home, punching and kicking the side window of our home as he screams inaudible screams. Either that, or he wasn't opening his mouth enough to make sounds. I don't know which is more terrifying. I was shocked as I stared at him. Suddenly, he lunged off to the side and I realised that the side door might have also been unlocked. I ran to our side door and caught it right as I saw a face appear in the tiny window. I began to cry as I locked it before running into our spare bedroom. I whip out my cell phone, dialing 911 as I cry and try and explain the issue. For some reason, the story in my memory skips to my upstairs neighbour calling me about 5 minutes later. He says, "Are you okay?" I say, "I think I am." He began telling me what happens after I hid. Apparently, the man had run into his apartment and knocked calmly. So he answered. He had no way of knowing that the person at his door was not of sound mind, and I had not thought to warn him. He opened his door, leaving only a tiny screen between him and the man. He asked the man if everything's okay, to which the man begins screaming, "They're trying to kill me, help." He was shocked and backed up saying, "Please step back. I will call the police." By then, I'm downstairs dialing already. The man punched his door and ran downstairs, kicking and punching his car in the driveway as he screams about being chased and on the verge of being murdered. He pulled the car doors and punches at the windows as he screamed, and I begged the police to arrive faster. The police finally show up as the man was still fighting the neighbour's car. They had brought along an ambulance and took him away promptly, strapped to the back of a stretcher and a straitjacket. This happened to me last Tuesday, and I can't stop thinking about it. I'll start this story by saying that I'm a 30-year-old female who lives with my fiance and our 2 dogs. I have 2 huskies. My huskies are not guard dogs, but they can be good when they need to be. So anyway, it's 8 PM, dark out, and I'm home alone. My fiance had a hockey game. I'm in the bathroom with the door closed and the blow dryer going, so I can't really hear anything around me. That is, until I hear one of the dogs howl. I stop and listen, thinking that the dogs are fighting again. Then I hear the faintest knock and the dogs start going crazy, barking, howling, and jumping into the bay window. I think they're actually going to break it. I'm thinking, why are the dogs going crazy like that? Is it a skunk or something? And I look out my bedroom window as it was the closest view I had to the front door. Lo and behold, there's 2 men standing there in black hoodies. They start knocking louder, and this time my 2-year-old husky jumps from the bay window to the front door and starts growling, ramming his body into the door. I'm watching this from my bedroom as the dogs jump into the door. One of the men jumps back, startled, looks at the other guy and walks away. I called my fiance to get home ASAP. I watched them walk away down the road. They weren't selling anything. I was so creeped out. I still am. Thank goodness for my crazy dogs. Scary men at the door. Let's never meet again, please.